Hey there, welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr., and coming up here over the next several minutes, I thought ESPN had some crazy, intriguing, and crazy predictions for the Niners going into 2025. So we're going to take a look at what ESPN had to say. But before we do that, we are shooting for 166,000 subscribers right here on the show. As you can see, we're 470 people away from reaching another milestone. And if you want Niners coverage coming your way every single day year-round, I have you covered here on the program. So ESPN's 2025 preview for the Niners. They give San Francisco a 65.2% chance of making the NFL playoffs. The Niners have a 39.2% chance, according to this ESPN model, of winning the NFC West. The Niners' projected win total very close to Vegas. It's hovering right there around 10. I think San Francisco can win easily 10 or 11 games if they can stay healthy. San Francisco's strength of schedule, it's the easiest in the NFL. And of course, last year, this is maybe my final reminder, it was a disaster in 2024. 6-11 for the Niners. They look to flush that and reverse that here this upcoming season. As part of ESPN's power rankings, ranking all 32 teams across the NFL, the Niners came in at number 10. I think that's very fair with what they did last year, how bad they were this year, and some of the question marks they have across the roster heading into the 2025 campaign. And here's my take on where the Niners are. I think if San Francisco can stay healthy, they should be contenders in the NFC. And what I mean by that, I think they can be a top 3 to 5 team in the NFC. But they are a little bit top heavy. There are stars. There are some young players I really like, but this is not as deep of a team as we've seen in recent years. ESPN also listed the biggest strength and biggest concern for the Niners going into this year. The biggest strength, offensive continuity. The biggest concern for San Francisco, experience and depth on defense. I would add to the biggest strength here, the overall coaching staff from top to bottom. I think it's one of the best in the NFL. And then I think ESPN hit the nail on the head here with the biggest concern for the Niners. It is experience and the depth on the defensive side of the ball. ESPN furthermore on the Niners' biggest strength here, offensive continuity. Though the Niners have had plenty of changes on the roster, their projected top 11 started at least 2 games each in 2024, an average a total of 11.5 starts last year when San Francisco was 4th in the league in yards per game. Injuries, especially at receiver, bring questions, but the 49ers have a group with experience in Coach Kyle Shanahan's system to again be an offense that, if it can take a step forward in the red zone, 57.1%, that was 14th in 2024, should improve upon its 22.1 points per game from 2024, which also ranked 14th. And it's pretty crazy that despite being the most injured team in football, second most injured offense in the NFL, and despite players being in and out of the lineup all year long on both sides, but especially on offense, San Francisco was still the 4th best total offense in the NFL. But I've talked about this ad nauseum, right? They got to get better in the red zone. They have to convert drives that are long and sustainable into touchdown scoring drives. And if they do that, points per game will go up and the efficiency numbers will go up as well. They just overall have to be better in the red zone. ESPN on the Niners' biggest weakness here, lack of experience and depth on defense. Coordinator Robert Saleh has the building blocks in defensive end Nick Bosa, linebacker Fred Warner, cornerback Deommodore Lenoir, but the rest of the defense is essentially one big question mark. The Niners could end up starting as many as 6 rookies relatively early in the year on a defense that finished 29th in points allowed per game last year, 25.6. And if injuries strike again, well, the Niners have little proven depth behind an already thin group, especially in the secondary. This is completely valid. You know, you like the pillars and some of the building blocks that you have with Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Deommodore Lenoir, Malik Mustafa once he comes back. Renardo Green was really good last year. Is he going to have a sophomore slump, or can he take another leap forward and improve? What are these rookies going to give you? We have absolutely no idea. I like these rookies and this rookie class, but I've also said, yeah, the Niners could start 5 or 6 rookies at some point this year. And with that, again, comes some growing pains. So what say you? How many games will the Niners win this year in 2025? Give me your predictions down below in the comment section right now, and we'll continue to take a look at what ESPN had to say just around the corner. Our sponsor for today's show, this episode of the 49ers Report, brought to you by Prize Picks. Look, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks, very simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. Right now, when you play your first $5 lineup, you get $50 back. Prize Picks, also the best way to get action on sports in less than 60 seconds, and they put their users first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. Prize Picks also offers injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks will not count it as a loss. How awesome is that? Our lineup for week 1, the special here, Dak Prescott. All he has to do is throw for more than a half passing yard. All right, easy money. And then from there, Brock Purdy more than 233.5 passing yards against the Seahawks, and Christian McCaffrey more than 76.5 rushing yards against Seattle. So download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Going into this year as well, ESPN is really high on Brock Purdy heading into this year. And I think that Brock Purdy, after a down year in 2024, after he was top 5 in MVP voting in 2023, is going to play more like that 2023 version of Purdy. I think there's more offensive continuity going into this year. I think his connection with Ricky Pearsall during training camp and in the preseason was alive. It's going to continue to hum. Jawan Jennings is back at practice. The return of Christian McCaffrey is huge. Trent Williams is also healthy at left tackle. Brock Purdy to George Kittle has been one of the most potent 1-2 punches in the NFL via the pass game. And I think Kyle Shanahan improving from his down year last year is also going to benefit Brock Purdy as well. Here's what ESPN had to say on Big Cock Brock. Since Brock Purdy took over as the full-time starter in Week 14 of the 2022 season, he ranks in the top 5 in passing yards and QBR, and he leads all quarterbacks in yards per attempt. Look, it always bothers me when a lot of casuals out there who never watch a snap of Niners football will say, Purdy stinks, he's overrated, he's carried. Efficiency-wise, numbers-wise, eye test-wise, since he came into the league in 2022, he has been one of the best quarterbacks in all of football. And him making $55 million per year, it can end up being a steal for San Francisco. It's tied for 7th most right now alongside Jared Goff. So he didn't reset the market. Dak's making 60. And soon, the likes of C.J. Stroud, Jaden Daniels, potentially Caleb Williams, these other young quarterbacks, a Lamar Jackson is up for a new deal soon. Jalen Hurts, whose deal is currently outdated. These quarterbacks are going to overtake Purdy. They're going to knock him outside of the top 10 in average annual value for highest paid quarterbacks. Some of these deals, legit, are going to be $60 to $70 million per year. And if Purdy plays well, that contract could end up being a bargain. Here's what ESPN said about the best fantasy play for the Niners. This might shock some people here. Wide receiver Ricky Pearsall. He scored 17 points or more in 3 of his 7 games played as a rookie. In week 17 and 18, he had 14 grabs and averaged 23.8 fantasy points. A detailed route runner who can provide a vertical push in one-on-one matchups. Pearsall will also get opportunities on in-breaking concepts and Shanahan's offense off of play action, which leads to big plays. And Pearsall's really a menace across the field, especially on a lot of those deep crossers. And one of my predictions going into this year, I do think that Pearsall has that breakout year. The only thing that's holding him back, injuries. I think Shanahan, with his scheme, with his play calling, his play designs, he can get Pearsall open. Pearsall is a really good route runner. He's good at the catch point. He plays bigger than his size. He can create and pick up yards after the catch. You can use him in a variety of ways. And so Pearsall has a big year in 2025. Would he be my go-to fantasy guy for San Francisco? No, I think that's a little bit surprising, but I do think he has a big year. I don't really play fantasy, but I know a lot of people do. ESPN's bold prediction here. Let's go. Edge rusher Bryce Huff will record at least 9 sacks. Maybe this is just stubbornness, but there has to be a real chance that last year's disappointment in Philadelphia was a one-year blip for Huff, and that can be overcome by returning to a Robert Saleh scheme defense. As bad as last year was, it's not enough to make me forget about the 10 sacks or the top 10 pass rush win rate at edge, 22%, that he recorded in 2023. I think Huff can have double-digit sacks. He had 10 sacks and 67 pressures on top of those numbers that we just talked about in 2023 under Robert Saleh. And look, some people will say, I'm tired of hearing about the scheme fit stuff. He was asked to be an edge rusher in a 3-4 defense under Vic Fangio. Sometimes that is read and react at outside linebacker, dropping back in coverage, playing the run. In this 4-3 front, wide 9 on the other side of Nick Bosa in a scheme that he is familiar with, Bryce Huff is used to his strengths, pinning his ears back, using bend, quick twitch, explosiveness, and speed to get after the quarterback, and that's where he really thrived under Robert Saleh. And so some interesting stuff from ESPN in that Niners 2025 preview. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for Elite Niners coverage every single day right here on the show. Lock us in right now.